Chapter 2, Part 5, Against Relativism. The objectives for this video are to learn and apply 4 arguments against relativism, and to be able to assess each of these 4 arguments. There are 4 common arguments against relativism. They all follow the same strategy. They begin with the supposition that relativism is true, and then they show that something unacceptable follows from this supposition. The 4 arguments against relativism. The first is that relativism makes anything morally right. The second argument against relativism is that relativism means that moral reformers must be condemned. The third argument against relativism is that relativism makes moral progress incoherent. And the fourth argument against relativism is that relativism requires us to choose a single social group to dictate our morality. Let's look at the argument that relativism makes anything right. If we accept moral relativism, then this means that slavery was morally right in any society that accepted it. However, this raises the problem of asking, is slavery ever morally right? And this, similarly, holds for any practice that is accepted widely by a society. So any practice that's accepted widely by a society has to be morally right under relativism if it's accepted by that society. What do you think? The next argument against relativism: if moral relativism is true, then we must condemn moral reformers. Do we think that we should have to condemn Martin Luther King Jr. when he was working on his moral reform? Because while he was working on this moral reform, the majority of people disagreed with him. And so, if moral relativism is true, then according to moral relativism, we would have to condemn Martin Luther King Jr. What do you think of this argument? The third argument against relativism is that it makes moral progress incoherent. Moral progress requires that there is some objective moral standard that we're moving towards. But notice that this is exactly what relativism denies. Relativism says that a society's moral standard is what that society believes and practices. So any changes are not progress, but are instead abandoning the practices required by the moral standard. What do you think of this argument? The fourth argument against relativism is that, according to relativism, we must choose a single social group to dictate our morality. Relativism says that your morality is that of the social group that you belong to. So which social group do you belong to? It seems like most of us belong to a wide variety of social groups. So how can we decide which one defines our morality? What do you think of this argument? To review, after watching this video, you should be able to identify the 4 arguments against relativism that were presented and assess each of these 4 arguments against relativism.